Great podcast today, especially given the scenario of mortgage rates going up, 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 up. How high are they going to go? We don't know. Today's guest has inside information because that's what he does. He also vets all of my personal deals. He's Sal Rizzolo, Cardinal Financial. All right. Yeah, kid, welcome back to another episode of Smells Like Cappy with Handsome. My name is Charles, a.k.a. the Handsome Homebuyer, a.k.a. Captain Permit, a.k.a. we're bringing it back. Bro, I am so fucking proud of you right now. It was that hair comment prior that got you riled up, right? I said that Greg had better hair than you, and you're like, "That's it, man. I gotta up the bar, whatever it takes." Speaking of whatever it takes, you know who's willing to do whatever it takes?
Captain Permit.
You guys are like, yeah.
I don't know the answers to these questions. I'm trying.
I don't know them sometimes, whatever just comes by now. But I digress. Just to be historically correct, one day, these two guys, because they're like, they're joined to the hip. They're gonna either like write a crazy movie, be on Saturday Night Live, like they're gonna do some insanely monumental thing. And all I want is a ticket to what's that thing called when like
Premiere?
Yeah. And like
No hats.
I won't wear a hat. That's fine. And access, whatever. I just want to put it out there that you guys are fucking brilliant, and that one day you're gonna be doing some crazy shit, and I'm gonna be like, yeah.
Replay this tape.
Come back.
A,
I called it, and B, I got to work with them, and in a very micro way, help that process.
I see it.
Will you give me that credit?
Sure.
The very last one at the very bottom of the credits, where you have to stay till the very end. When nobody stays.
Scott's giving me the look like,
whatever you say.
Yeah, just shut up. I'll tell you. Here. Greg's like, I'm not giving you any satisfaction at all. So back to Captain Permit. So how did I segue into Captain Permit?
He'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Captain Permit will do whatever it takes to get your goddamn permit. Coast to coast, doesn't matter where it is. 516-513-8838 from tip to tip, and that's Montauk to Elmont. It's bad and it's getting worse by the minute. You don't have any permit problems. You don't know about this. You do have permit problems.
I do.
You're about to fund the loan. You're excited. Rates are getting jacked up. This person's got a rate lock at 4.5. They're feeling all freaking frisky and excited. All of a sudden, rates go to 6.5, and all of a sudden, there's no permit for the deck. What do you do?
So luckily for us, we don't require the permits to close. So we would usually try to have them work out some sort of escrow agreement so that we could close on time.
The correct answer was you call Captain Permit. 516-513-8838. But when you're working with Cardinal, you don't need to worry about any of this shit, which is why I work with Cardinal, which we'll get to in a minute. Obviously, I'm the handsome home buyer. If you have a house that smells like cat peas, dated from the 1960s, 6 inches of mold on the wall, human waste floating past the basement steps, you and I could do broadcast together. I want to buy it. 516-777. Sold. And what we do every day, but you've never witnessed what we do every week, but you've never witnessed this live. Is today's podcast is sponsored by Cardinal Financial. Not only Cardinal Financial, but
Team Rizzolo. Also
Sal Rizzolo.
Sal Rizzolo.
Sal Rizzolo. So why do I work with Sal Rizzolo? A, he's the best looking man in the mortgage business. Can I get an oh yeah in the back?
Oh yeah!
Less excessive?
No, that was amazing.
That was perfect.
I just wanted to take that in. B, the market is bananas, and that's what we're going to talk about right now, right? Rates going through the roof. People are freaking out. There's blood in the streets. Buy. But in order to get through this, you need to be able to fund deals and make things affordable. You also have to worry about market risk and carrying costs, right? The longer you hold something as an investor or a homeowner, the more risk there is, right? You don't know. The less your dollar is worth with inflation boogieing at like 8.6% right now, something like that.
Inflation 8.6.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want these things to guarantee the close and close fast. So in the past, we've been having problems with deals falling apart. No more. Why don't we have problems?
Because I don't want to get these wrong. Because we underwrite the loans prior to contract to make sure that they don't fall apart once they're in contract.
So it's like this. If you're an investor, this is what you got to do. If you're a realtor, this is what you got to do. You need to partner with Sal Rizzolo or somebody like him, but there is nobody like him. So you're stuck with him. There he is. You could do worse. Trust me. And make sure that he screens every single deal when it comes in the door before you accept it to make sure that either A, he can get it and you know it's going to close in 30 days or less, which is beautiful, or B, at least you know it's going to close. Because there's nothing worse than being 60 or 90 days down the road and it doesn't fucking close. Sal Rizzolo closes. Can I get a hell yeah from the back? Facts. All right.
You might get hired too to hang out here.
All right. So, dude.
So we've seen it in the past. And when we first started working together, you had maybe 2 or 3 deals that were in contract. We had never reviewed them, right? And 45 days, 60 days, 2 days before the commitments due, 1 day before the commitments due, you give them the ultimatum, like, listen, go talk to Sal. If Sal says it's good, I'll give your guy another 15 days. If not, we're going to pull, right? And then we started pulling all these offers, and we seen
nightmare.
They were never qualified. They weren't close to being qualified. And these loan officers they're not even saying, hey, we're 2 weeks in contract, but we're realizing now that the deal is a fucking mess and it'll never close. So let's let everybody know. They're literally just going ghost and waiting until the clock runs out and then saying, hey, you owe my client their money back. I don't know what to tell you.
I want to dive back into interest rates in a second and the market and what you're seeing. But before we do that, there's a question that I normally ask people, which I ask them before we get on the air, which it makes sense but doesn't because I don't really know them. But I really know you. So the question is there anything on this podcast that you don't want to talk about because you have a dark life, sir?
No, I'm an open book. My psychiatrist said it's the right way to approach things.
The right psychiatrist can be an amazing thing or just make you feel like you're absolutely nuts. But that's not the point here. So market. January, what are rates?
So January, I feel like rates were still...
Like 2.5%? Something like that?
We were in the 3s by January, and that's when everybody was complaining because the 3s were so high. Maybe now's the time to wait. I'm going to back off. When rates go, like it's like a sweet spot, right? Like especially in the industry, when rates go into a new first point, so 2% instead of 3% or 3% instead of 4%, right? As soon as 2s are advertised online, nobody wants a 3.1 or a 3.0.
Got it.
Right? But when rates are in the 3s, rates are in the 3s.
Okay.
So that's what we said. Like when rates went to 3.25, we're like, oh my God, thank God, because now if this person's credit isn't great and they're getting a 3.5, they're not focused on the 2s anymore.
Yeah.
So by the time we were in the 3s around January, we were like, okay, this business should start to get a little bit easier and less competitive. And now we're going to the high 3s and we're like, crap, they're in the high 3s. Now we got to sell 4.1 and people don't want to take a 4.1. And we're like, hopefully they go into the 4s. And now they're in the 4s. And it's funny, like every month or every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like we made it into the 6s this week. Rates are literally in the 6s. In a matter of 4 months, we've gone from 3s to 6s, which is insane.
So I want to digress a little also so people understand, even my own personal, so you're a loan officer, you're a mortgage broker, correct?
We're bankers.
You're mortgage bankers. Okay.
Yep.
So what is the difference? And what is the difference between going to somebody like you and then going to, let's say, like a TD Bank or a Chase Bank or a Capital One or something like that?
So you have mortgage bankers, you have mortgage brokers, and then you have depository lenders. Depository lenders are also bankers, right? Because it's an actual bank. We underwrite everything in-house. Our processing, underwriting, it's all done under the same roof. So those are the banks.
Yeah.
Depository institutions, TD Bank, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, those loan officers are not licensed. They don't have to take a class. They're not required to learn pretty much anything.
They're basically like, they're order takers.
They're order takers.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So, and for better or worse, it's not to say that there are people at those banks that don't know what they're doing, but those banks are not built on relationships. They're not built on knowledge. They're built on, this is Bank of America. We're Bank of America. You already bank with us. We'll do your mortgage. So when they're asking you for explanations or they're running your credit and seeing inquiries, you're filling all that stuff out yourself. You're basically on your own. And these loan officers don't know whether the deal's going to work or not either because they're just collecting what they need to send it to underwriting. They don't underwrite deals before contract, so you don't have anybody taking a look at it. So I think the main difference is just the fact that they're not licensed. And anyone that works at a mortgage bank is required to be licensed. It's the only thing we do. We sell mortgages.
So basically, and it sounds to me, and again, I didn't know this, so it's good to fill me in. If you're walking into TD Bank, you're dealing with somebody who's just taking your information. You have to really be like insanely squeaky clean. That's not to say the people that you deal with aren't squeaky clean, but like you need to make sure that everything is perfect. The credit, the DTI, all that, because you're getting no guidance.
Correct.
So like you have to be very, very like, that top tier buyer, which is a very small percent.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you a super quick example. They'll do FHA loans the same way we will, right? If there's a dispute on your credit report, an FHA loan has to be downgraded to a manual underwrite, which is just a pain in the ass to keep it short and sweet. But the underwriting, the findings don't show that. So somebody at TD or Bank of America, whatever bank it was, they give them an approval. The credit score is 680, which is fine. They go into contract. They're at the very end. The underwriter says, "Hey, there's a dispute on this credit. You can't do the FHA loan. You're out."
Just that's it.
We remove disputes for borrowers.
Yeah.
Hey, this was my Chase card. I went to a credit repair guy. He told me to dispute it, but it's me, and I'll undispute it. We do that in 2 days or 3 days. We took the loan and we cleared it in 5 days. So a bank like that, one, doesn't know to look for that problem, and B, doesn't know how to fix it. And the underwriters aren't in the business of telling you how to fix things. They're the goalies.
Yeah.
They catch the ball, they throw it back at you. Now you figure it out again. So it's not to say that the deal shouldn't close, but the underwriter can't tell you how to close it. And those loan officers don't know how to do it either. It's just not, it's not what they have spent their entire, career doing.
What else?
From banks to us. So a big common misconception is that those banks are cheaper. They're not. They're 9 times out of 10 more expensive than any mortgage banks that you'll work with, including, me and all of our competitors, Cross Country, Contour, Freedom, Round Point. We all sell to the same investors. Those banks piggyback off of the fact that their name is so big that 9 times out of 10, you're not even going to question what they're giving you. So you go into a bank and there's a 1.5 point origination charge on it, and they say, hey, well, this is market norm right now, and this is what our bank charges, and they think, hey, it's Bank of America. It's got to be normal, and it's not.
So mainstream Wall Street banks being cheaper, even for the most qualified buyer, false.
So there are instances where you have $2 million sitting with Citibank, and you go to Citibank, even in this market right now, and you tell them, hey, the interest rate's at 6%, but if you don't give me a 5%, I'm bringing my $2 million and I'm going to Bank of America. They could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They just won't unless, it's the same thing with Chase. Or, once you have enough money, they give you things that you don't need and they take care of you. But when you have no money, they hit you with overdraft fees and charges.
Explain to people how mortgage bankers make money.
So we get paid Reg Zs. So basically, when you sign an agreement as a loan officer, you're going to make a specific percentage on a loan based on where it came from. So if you have a media campaign where you're advertising to the internet, maybe you make 0.5% on those loans. Or if it's a self-sourced business or self-generated deal where it's a friend or a family member, maybe you make 1%. And that's because on the back end, you're factoring in less marketing costs, less advertising costs, and less money that goes into the deal. But you're paid by the bank. So brokers are a different wheelhouse, and I don't pretend to know exactly how it works, but brokers normally disclose what they make on the initial estimate, and they're allowed to make money in a different way because they're sending the deals out and having them underwritten elsewhere. Right.
Yeah, it's like a big,
So for us, if I sell you a 5% and I charge you 3 points, or I sell you a 6% and I charge you no points, or whatever that rate sheet is, it's all the same thing that comes to me. You're paying to make up the difference because you want a lower rate, or you're paying less because you're taking a higher rate. So, a lot of times you get on the phone and these people are like, oh, like you're charging me 4 points because no, you're getting charged 4 points because you have a 592 credit score and you're putting down 3% on a loan. So it's all based on your current situation and your price adjustments. It's never, how much the bank is trying to make.
So on your end, what are you seeing from a standpoint of volume? Like, are you having deals fall through? Are you still, most important thing to me is, are you still having people come to you to get pre-qualified, and are people's buying power obviously dropping?
Yeah, so buying power is dropping fast. And the problem with, we work with a lot of 5% down, 10% down offers. And the problem with those is they're being asked to waive the appraisals half the time they can't. And if they can, that means that every dollar that they have is accounted for. Right? Because if you're putting down 10% and you're waiving an appraisal, you really can't afford for your closing costs to go up. So if we qualified you based on a 5.5% interest rate, and now rates are 6.5, you say, oh, well, just discount the rate. All right, well, it might cost 4 points to discount the rate from 6.5 to 5.5. And if you didn't have enough money to close in the first place, you might not have another $25,000 left laying around just to lower your payment. So what we've been doing recently is explaining to borrowers, if you find a house today, this is what you're qualified for, but let's shop here, because if the rates take off, we still have padding, or we still have room for you to qualify. And then we've been going through our pipeline the past few days and just, reaching out to people that we know are shopping and kind of just managing expectations.
So let me ask you this also, and I don't know if you have this information, of a percentage of buyer pool and like numbers, where were people qualified to buy that you're seeing versus where they're qualified to buy now? The reason why I'm asking you is this, like, I'm trying to, just for my own shit, gauging. It's like, okay, if you had 20% of buyers that were able to buy between 800 and a million, and now because of the rate hikes, all of a sudden that's 5%. You know, where should investors be buying? How should they be pricing? That type of stuff.
Well, you said it the other day when we spoke that people buy a payment right now, right? They're not necessarily buying.
I think they always buy a payment.
They'll always buy a payment, and that's the problem because that payment is nowhere close to what it used to be. So one, you have the buyers who might not even be willing to spend. Were they spending $800,000? Yeah, but that's because the payment was $4,000. Now the payment's $6,200. They wouldn't even do it if they could. So as far as a buyer pool goes, like what you're saying, we've shifted from January. We've shifted about $200,000 in buying power. So anyone that
yeah. So basically, like if you were taking out a $500,000 mortgage in January, you're taking out a $300,000 mortgage today.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's about $1,000 a month. When you think about it, that's about $1,000 a month in payment, an extra $200,000.
What do you think that does to prices versus inventory the way you see it right now? Because there's still no inventory. Like, bro, I look at the drip that comes in every day of stuff that gets listed, price reductions, all that shit. It's not a lot.
I know.
At all. And there's no mechanism that's going to increase that unless they jack the rates up to the point where they want to shut the market off, which...
Well, what I've been seeing is like the last 4 offers that I got accepted were at ask or like 5 or 10 over.
Whereas before you were taking offers like 50, 100,
70, waivers, children, blood samples, don't care. Waive it all, take it all out of the contract. I'm the seller. I want everything. You get nothing. Go kill yourself, right? The attorneys were like, oh, maybe we could ask for 45. And they're like, no, 30. And they just send it back to you. And you're just taking what you could get. Now the sellers are going to start fixing the roofs. They're going to start crediting for the boilers. That's what I think is going to happen. But I don't know if this is a weird theory, and I'm putting it out in public before I even said it out loud to myself. But I think that because house prices were going up so fast, and everything else was right, inflation.
Yep.
The
which
houses,
isn't going to stop.
Right. The houses were up 30%, but the bread was up 30%.
Yeah.
Now the bread is still going up, and the houses are staying the same.
But are they?
They're not. Well, I think that if you're not getting 50,000 over ask, that's the same as either a stop or maybe even a slide. Like you're not going to see house prices reduce, but that's because we've been listing them $50,000 under where they belong in the first place. So if you start getting $10,000 or $20,000 over ask instead of 40, 50 over ask, now you ask yourself, well, are the agents pricing it right? Or are they pricing it low like they used to and just not getting the offers that they were trying to aim for in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think the list price has any bearing on anything. I just think it's a way to like start the negotiation, but ultimately the market decides what something's worth, right? Based on supply, demand, and their buying power. So I'm just curious to know. Also, another weird thing is like there's so much free money that was out there that's still out there that's sloshing around all over the place. Like, bro, we just did that deal. We're doing that deal in Westbury, 555 Bryant.
Yep.
One of the buyers freaking came to the table with $300,000.
Cash.
On a 550 house.
Yeah.
Did
they sell something beforehand?
Yeah, they sold something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fucking real money. Like people come with real money.
No, and you get, those are, not to say you get lucky, but those are going to be more towards the buyers that you're going to start to see because now it's less of a tactic to leverage yourself to the gills at 95%, 97%. Because when money was at 2.5%, that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
If I had 50% if I had 50% to put down, I wouldn't do it. I'd put down the bare minimum every time because the money's basically free.
So shifting gears a little bit, right? Like obviously there's a ton of loan officers in the business doing refis. Refis are
all but gone.
And they're going to be gone for like a while.
We're doing 2 right now, and they're very niche situations. So yeah, it's very, very, very rare to see a refinance.
So you have all those guys that are basically like either out of the business or like, shit, now we have to do purchases, which are hard because there's no inventory and rates are rising, right? So you have that scenario. What's your advice to? But the funny part is you're doing more business than ever.
Yeah.
So how do you? Which just kind of proves like the people that are making it happen are always going to make it happen. So how do you, what do you recommend to other loan officers that are looking to, grow their business or survive in these times?
The bank that you work at is really important. I knew this getting into the business, but for me, it always just felt like, I work for the team and the team that I work for, and I would follow them into a fire. right? So whatever he said goes. Like if they say, hey, this is going to be the place that we should work at, I just assume that these guys know what they're doing and I follow them. I mean, that's what we did when we came to Cardinal. This is where we're going to Cardinal.
I mean, I got to give you credit. I mean, obviously we work together for a number of different reasons, but typically I've told you this before. So typically most LOs and mortgage people that I deal with are fucking douchebags and they just lie. Like, no, there's not a bankruptcy, Charles. But there's a bankruptcy. It's right there, sir.
You just asked the attorney for the paperwork.
Now the deal is dead because of this bankruptcy. So, but like your team, like you're Frank Capabianco, right? Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, guy's awesome.
Yeah. And knows what he's doing.
Awesome. Like Frank is awesome. Really knows his shit. Like the people at Cardinal are on point. Like I've never seen any other mortgage bank.
See, like when we came to work for Cardinal, there was no Northeastern division. So Frank and Tommy, Ralph and Jimmy, they run the entire Northeastern division. So there's 300 and something loan officers now, and there's 60 something branches, and it's all being done under the umbrella of these guys. So Cardinals here, they basically act as middle ground, but the systems and the processes that they've put in place, the pre-approval underwriting, we reach out when I have an offer accepted and someone else in the bank knows me or we know the listing agent, like we'll reach out to other listing agents to vouch for each other, to help each other get deals. And it's almost to the point where now we're stepping on each other's toes because so many people know Cardinal, but I hear it all the time. We've worked at Cardinal before. We love Cardinal.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys have made it a point. They don't originate. So they don't produce, they don't, spend time doing their own business. They literally just put processes and everything that we need in place so that when these deals need to close, we could prioritize them. We could move them where they need to move, and we get exceptions or, we get committee exceptions or reviews, on the spot instead of waiting 7 to 10 days. So, we just being able to underwrite everything ahead of time will put you in a position with your realtor referrals where, like, imagine telling your realtor, hey, this guy's good to go out there. And they go out and show them 55 houses, and then they finally get an accepted offer and that deal's dead.
Yeah.
I would never work with that loan officer again. You told me this guy was good. I spent $7,000 in gas driving back and forth in Long Island in the last 3 weeks, showing this guy houses. And now we finally get an accepted offer and the deal's dead. So what do they say? Like one wrong step could ruin 100 right steps. You do one thing wrong and it could ruin a history of everything being perfect.
Takes a lifetime to establish a reputation and a moment to lose it.
So that sounds a lot better than what I said. But that's it.
Tell me about your tattoos.
I can't. It was actually a shotgun thing. No, so
he said nothing was off limits. I think the tattoos are cool. Everyone's giving me these in the background.
No. So actually, I was gonna.
Now Greg and Scott are. Now Greg perked up.
I went with. So Nico's actually a good friend of mine. I did a podcast with him.
The work is freaking dope.
Yeah, I really do like it. I went to him. It was he's very like on the fly. Like when I get to him, he'll start doing like the design before, like once I get there. Like it's not even done up. So I brought him a picture of like a Marvel sleeve.
Okay.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. And he was like, we're not doing this. And I was like, what do you mean? He's
Good for that guy. Do you know how many people have gone into tattoo parlors and gotten fucked up shit they picked up off the wall?
Yeah, no, so
I'm not letting you go out like that, bro.
I had it all drawn up, and he's like, no, we're not doing this. And I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, just do bitches. I'm like, all right. I said, draw something up. And the first one that he did was up here on my shoulder. And that's the story. That is the true story. And I actually have to finish it today. I'm leaving here to go there after this. That's the story.
But it all ends with the last one, which is the tattoo from today, which is symbolic.
He has me tattooed.
For yourself. Yeah. So it's
I'm a happy girl.
It's all good. Man. All right, so let's leave it with this. I want final words of buyers, people that are buying. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to hold? There are buyers out there that are like, I'm just gonna wait for the rates to go down. Fucking rates ain't going down in my opinion. I want to know what your words are to potential buyers out there right now.
All right. I don't want to sound like every single other person on social media that is saying, oh, well, rates are still historically low at 4%. Rates are historically low at 5%. Rates are historically low at 6%. There's always going to be a reason to buy a house. There's always going to be a reason to wait. But you'll never know whether that reason was the right reason or not until a year goes by and you can compare it to what just happened. So I think if home prices are starting to steady, or at the very least, you don't need to spend an extra $50,000, $60,000, rates will come down. And when rates do come down, the prices are going to go back up.
When do you think rates are going to come down?
I should give an exact date, and then we could beep it out, and then people will just start messaging you to find out what I said. Nobody knows when rates are going down. I mean, we picked up pricing today, and everybody was worried that they were going through the roof, and we might start to see it ease and settle to where it is now, or they might go into the 7s or 8s. I don't know.
I'm gonna weigh in on this. I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I think we're fucked. I don't think we're gonna see rates dropping at any merit for like fucking 10 years.
See, too many. I don't know. I think that if the rates go any higher than they are now, it thins the buyer pool out so much that the government is going to have to do some sort of subsidize. They're going to have to do something. Maybe it's only for first-time home buyers. Maybe it's only for people that don't own a house already. But there's going to have to be some sort of subsidization, what the word would be, where it makes it easier for people that don't own homes to buy homes.
Unless they're trying to control pricing.
They artificially control pricing with the rates regardless.
Well, the government always does something extreme. So they effed up by flooding too much money in, right?
Right.
And this money's
Trillions
sitting there.
of dollars, right? So now they're trying to make up for it.
How do you get rid of it?
You do raise interest rates, but if you raise interest rates enough where nobody wants to sell or buy because they have a 3% and they don't want an 8%, then they have to figure out a happy medium, because if they have 1 million mortgages at 6%, that's going to be better than 100,000 mortgages at 8%.
But it's crazy. Like I don't want to say the government doesn't care, but like I don't think the government fucking cares. Like these guys don't fucking care. Like they're getting fucking insider trading stock tips and stuff, and it's legal. Like they don't care.
I know.
If they have to hold inflation and they have to shut the market off to do it, and they have to try to cut your nuts off and my nuts off at the same time.
But what I'm saying is when they raise rates, the only way that benefits them is if people actually take out mortgages. Is if people actually use the money, right?
Yeah, but then it's like, so rates go up, people stop buying, prices level, start to drop, start to stabilize. Interest rates in banks go up. People are making more money in their savings account. It's just...
So you're saying people...
That's like the freaking...
So if the house prices come down enough, the interest rates will be higher, but it won't matter. People could still buy because of the prices, and then... So
people are making more money in their savings account, right? Safer. Prices of homes have stopped going down. They offset with that income. It just, I mean, it's historically proven to work. The question is, like, the only thing that's unprecedented about this is that, I mean, they just put so much fucking money in the system.
And I think that you have to take into account too that like the home prices and what rates do to those home prices and where property taxes are historically, the ratios were never the same. So like historically, when home prices are 100,000 and the rates go up to 12% to curb inflation, it's $600 a month in interest, which is X amount of your payroll or X amount of your paycheck. That's
what I'm saying. Like, so as far as rates going down, a typical real estate cycle is 20 years. We've been in a low interest rate environment for damn near 20 years.
Relative to what a high interest rate environment was.
Yeah, so think about it. It's 2022. You had very high interest rates in like the 70s, 80s. It started to come down very like .com era, right? Like, okay. Here we are 20 years later. And the rates were like, 6 under, really, really, really cheap recently. Like, it's time.
There was a time where when home prices were 60, 70,000, an average combined household income was like 25 or 30.
I mean, I'm with you. There's a lot of things, like people are making
way less money than what the
comparatively speaking,
right.
from what they used to before. So, but that's another thing. That's because the interest rates are so freaking low.
Right. But so the rates can't, I mean, imagine rates at 10% now, a $500,000 house, your mortgage payment would be $8,000. Like who in their right mind could even come close to being able to afford that? You'd have to make $240,000 a year.
Or the price of the house would have to come down.
By how much?
As much.
Half? 40%? 50%?
I mean, that's nuts. Yeah. I mean, to that point, that's crazy.
Something's got to give in the middle somewhere. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't. It's a scary time. It is definitely it's a scary time for sure, in my opinion. So to shift gears and close out, what's your advice to loan officers? People that are getting into the business at this time, want to stay in the business, trying to survive, trying to grow their business.
I mean, we actually started putting it out there. We're opening an office in Patchogue soon. Nice. So we're going to start hiring loan officers.
Patchogue is fucking dope.
Yeah, I mean, me and you started this relationship almost by accident. You know, I knew I wanted to work with you. I didn't know how it would work, and I didn't know if it would provide value, and it actually ended up working out great for both of us. So explore different types of relationships, because in this market, you know, the realtors are always going to be your bread and butter, but even realtors are having a tough time getting business. You know, accountants normally know when one of their clients plans on buying a house. Attorneys, anything. I mean, builders work great. You know, offer up services that are normally you wouldn't want to do because you don't have enough time. You know, even we were doing this during the boom, and nobody wanted to be bothered with, you know, pre-approving people that weren't even going to work with them. But look at what the byproduct of it was. You know?
No, I mean, listen, you need to know as many different people as possible that are connectors, I will call them, connectors that enable you that have access to people, right? And you have to get creative, and you have to really figure out ways to get these people qualified. Like one thing that we're doing right now, which is working really well, is that we're offering people anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 as a concession if they work with you, because what we use that for is to buy down the rate. So in certain cases, we can buy down the rate a half a point, sometimes more, which impacts the rate and your monthly payment huge.
Right, and these, you know, 3% down, 5% down buyers. Their biggest hurdle is always going to be closing costs, right? Because if you only have 3% to put down, that's because you don't have enough money for closing costs, or you'd put down 5 or 10 or 15. So being able to buy down the rate with money from the seller is basically just a gift, and it lowers their payment, and we do the calculation for them. It saves them anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 even over the first few years, just in interest.
That's what I'm saying. So as a builder, or even as a realtor who's advising their homeowners, you have to get creative. You know, the days of put a shit box on the market, have 40 people lined up outside, sell for $100,000 over ask are over. You have to figure out a way to make houses affordable for people. And that's why you need to work with somebody like Sal, and you have to get creative on whatever kind of incentives you have or can offer. And I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of different products that are coming out right now, because, you know, mother is the necessity of all invention, right? So when people are having a problem getting into houses, inevitably things change.
Something's going to happen.
So even if, my thing also is, and this is the X factor that we don't know about, but we kind of do know about, is we don't know what the mortgage industry is going to do, in the sense that the mortgage industry needs to do loans, right?
Yeah.
So if houses get crazy and interest rates get crazy, what are they going to come up with? Are they going to come up with some kind of a product that lowers the rate for the first, 2 or 3 years? Or like, what are they going to do? Is Wall Street going to come up with something that the investors want to buy that enable people to get into a product cheaper, short to medium term?
And that's going to be interesting, because the last time government actually intervened was HARP, right? And HARP was when the interest rates were adjusting and people's payments were going up $4,000 and they couldn't afford it. But now we're in a different type of situation where it's like, do we intervene just to help people get into houses? Because then the people that just spent all of their life savings getting into the houses and spent all the money they had to, it's the same thing with the student loans. Like, do we forgive student loans? Because I just paid mine off 3 months ago.
It's fucking bullshit.
Well, you gonna forgive those?
No.
So it's hard for the government to step in and do that. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, we get the newsletters. We just stay on top of everything if something comes out.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I'm seeing is, and I'm like pretty on top of this stuff, is like loan mods aren't up.
No. Well, loan mods, you have to prove you can't make the payments. And up until now, I mean, these people are qualified. I mean, they're in most cases overly qualified, because it's not happening like it used to 15 years ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's a different thing. So you have all these people out here screaming, it's 2008, it's 2008. It's not 2008.
It's not.
It's not.
No, we're making way more money than then, and the people that are buying are qualified to buy. So it's totally different.
So listen, I appreciate you coming down. You're always a gentleman. I appreciate you helping me in business.
Likewise.
And life. If you're a loan officer and you're thinking about jumping ship and you want to be with the best bank in the world,
did I miss him?
I think was that a vape? Yeah. I thought something went on fire. I just saw smoke. So if you're a loan officer, you want to be with the best bank in the world, you want to work under the Rizzolo team who's getting deals already done, like my man Walter Green. How do people reach out to you? And obviously, investors that have been looking to do a similar relationship as myself, or realtors who want to send a buyer out there armed with a real pre-approval that's actually worth the paper it's written on, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, so for now, it's 631-946-0654. That's still my direct number. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to hold that up, thanks to you. But We do that. Email address, sal.rizzolo at Cardinal Financial, but definitely just reach out, text or call. That's always the best way.
Awesome. I'm going to close out with a lot of agents are always hitting me up saying, hey, listen, what's your inventory that's coming out? Now, if you go to handsomehomebuyer.com and you go to Handsome's Homes, we have properties that are under construction. We're loading them up right now. We have like 30 or 40 of them up there right now. We're going to load even more. We have houses that are listed on the market. So what you can do is you can click on there. You can get routed over to Cardinal. They'll get you pre-qualified. They'll give you information on the house that nobody else has got to see. So this way, when the house is ready to hit market, you have a front row inside information ready to go and get aggressive and make an offer on your dream home. So check it out. handsomehomebuyer.com, Handsome's Homes. Check out our current, past, and upcoming inventory.